I spoke no German at all at this point. So I had forever. This was about 2 or 3 weeks after I first came to Germany. I had basically a breakdown in a McDonald's parking lot because I didn't know how to get out.
Hello, servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I have been living in Cincinnati, Ohio, off and on since 2016. So a few weeks ago, I did a video with NALF, who is an American from Portland, Oregon, living in Germany. He actually moved there the same year that I moved to the States, and he came to Germany to play American football for the Schwäbisch Hall Unicorns. So he lives in Schwäbisch Hall, which is in Baden-Württemberg. So him and I are in the exact opposite situation. He's an American in Germany, I'm a German in the US, and it's really interesting to talk to him about what it's like for him and what kind of culture differences he has noticed and experienced. In our last conversation, we talked about small talk and superficiality a lot, about what the two countries do better, and also which stereotypes we've found to be true and false. If you haven't seen that yet, check out part 1 of that conversation on his channel and part 2 on mine. Links are in the description below. But there were so many more topics to talk about, and since we got some amazing feedback and you guys really wanted us to make a part 2, here it is. This video is sponsored by Lingoda, an online language school that has an amazing offer to help you learn a language in just 3 months, but I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. This is part 1 of the conversation with NALF, in which we talked about where we would want to raise our kids, what kind of situations made us feel really lost when we first moved abroad, and which things we still can't get used to this day. So I hope you enjoy it, and afterwards, obviously, go over to NALF's channel and watch the second part over there. Link is in the description.
Felicia, if you were to have children someday, where would you want them to grow up? In the United States or in Germany?
I mean, first of all, it kind of depends on the situation, like what my job situation is like and who I'm having the kids with, I guess. The most obvious answer would be that I would want them to grow up in Germany because there's better benefits and stuff like that. Maternity leave and those kind of things are a lot better in Germany. Right. Also, obviously, my family's in Germany. But actually, I think I would want them to grow up in both countries. Given that my husband is going to be an American, then I think I would want my kids to experience both countries and both cultures. And I think actually it would be really cool for them to experience the whole American high school and college life. Yep. So I think it would be really cool for them to get involved in like clubs and to be encouraged in their musical or sports or whatever talents in high school and those kind of things. And so I think I would want them to like live a few years in the one country and a few years in the other country.
So you're riding the fence. You pick both.
Yeah, kind of. Well, that would be the ideal situation. Obviously, there's reality too, and there's other things that come with moving back and forth, but that would be the ideal thing for me.
That's I respect that answer, and I actually would probably say something similar, honestly.
Really? Yeah. Well, what did you think before I said what I just said?
No, I actually thought that because I have one of my good friends. He's an American guy here in Germany, and he is engaged to a German girl from here. And so they have had this conversation, and I've had this conversation with them a lot of times. So they've really thought it out. And that's essentially their answer is like probably, mainly in Germany, but would want to have them have like at least the high school experience in the United States. They can have like that, the high school sports and music and whatever extracurricular activities and all this stuff kind of that we talked about last time. I think I would say something similar, but if I had to choose one, I would say that I would prefer for them to grow up in the United States because I think living in Germany is probably a more pleasant and comfortable life and experience. But I would say that kind of growing up in the States, like say if I were to look at my brother who's in high school right now, the amount of I guess, for lack of a better word, stress and grind that he has to go through every day, I think it's really good at developing you as a person. And when I look back on my high school times in the States, I just feel like, you're waking up at 6 a.m. and then you've got obviously school all day, which is of course similar to Germany. Then you got sports after that, and then he gets home and he does homework till 10 p.m. and then goes to sleep, and it's not very pleasant, but I think it's really good at developing you as a person. So if I had to choose one.
Well, I was gonna say that some German kids have that lifestyle too, of course, because they can choose to be super involved in sports. And I had a few friends who did like Leistungssport, so they had practice 4 times a week or 5 times a week, and they had the same lifestyle. It's just not connected to school.
If I had to choose one, and mainly if I break it down to like one sentence, I think just because it's harder. It kind of sucks more, so I think it'll develop you as a person.
Wow. The one thing that I would argue against that as a German is that German high school, like at least Gymnasium, is definitely more challenging than American high school.
Okay.
Academically.
Say that again?
Academically is not
the
other parts.
I believe you. I do believe you. Because I've heard from people who have done exchange years at an American high school, and they come back like, that was a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, even college is usually like a year or two behind if you're not going to an Ivy League university.
I believe you. I think that's unfortunate for America and American schools, but I do believe you.
Well, this is for the undergrad. I know there's a big jump between undergrad and graduate level in the US, so...
Let me ask you, while we're on this, I guess this is I just thought of this, but like in the States, I mean, you've had like the kind of the university experience. In the States, a lot of people will study something, like have a major, they'll major in some sort of subject, and not go into a field related to that subject at all. They won't get a job after college related to that. And it's almost as if what they studied in college is just irrelevant. I don't see that like with Germans at all. It's basically if you're choosing a path to study down, you're kind of committing yourself to that for your life. Would you agree with that?
I wouldn't fully agree with that, but I think this also kind of depends on the field that I'm in, because I've always kind of been in the social sciences and humanities. And with those majors, I think it's the same in both countries, that it does help if you have a degree, just like with your salary in the future. But in a lot of cases, it's not directly related to what you're going to do in your job later. Like, not all people who get a history degree are going to be historians later in life. I'm not quite sure what it's like with like STEM degrees. Honestly, I've never really compared that. But one thing that's definitely true is that Germans are more committed. So maybe it's more like a mentality thing than connected to the education system. I'm not sure.
Oh, is that definitely true? Yeah, I actually would agree with that. Like, just like you said, if you're making a decision, this is what you're going to do, whether it's, I guess, studying or leisure time. I make a decision to relax for 3 hours on a Sunday, and I'm committed to that.
Right. Yeah, but I'm not quite sure. So about your initial question, I feel like maybe other Germans would know better about this, because I've actually never thought about this before.
Okay, and it just popped up. I just thought of it. It seemed like, I mean, everyone that I know, and like everyone who I know for the most part, unless they studied pre-med or something specific, they're not working in a field of what they studied.
Okay.
So who knows?
We'll go back to the conversation in a second, but before we do, I'd like to talk about language learning. So it's the end of May, and summer is going to look a little different this year, and it doesn't look like a lot of us are going to be able to travel and go on vacation. But one thing that we can do is learn a language and speak it confidently in the fall. The online language school Lingoda is offering a language sprint with up to 100% cashback. And I've tested Lingoda myself, and it's a great concept because it's encouraging you to take one class every day or every other day. And if there's one thing that's important when learning a language, it's speaking it and being exposed to it regularly. Plus, all of the teachers are native speakers. There are usually only 3 students per class, which means that you get to practice a lot and ask all of your questions. And since it's online, it's super flexible and you can take classes any day, anytime. As I said, I've tested the German classes for you guys, and I was really impressed with how much the students learn during that short amount of time and how good their speaking skills are. So if you want to practice your English or business English, or if you want to learn German, which of course is a great language, French or Spanish, you can now sign up for the Lingoda Sprint, which starts on July 1st. There are classes for all levels, and if you do the Super Sprint and you attend 30 classes a month for 3 months, you get a 100% cashback. If you do the regular Sprint and attend 15 classes a month for 3 months, you get a 50% cashback. The deadline to sign up is June 15th, and since places for the sprint are limited, you'll have to pay a €45 deposit to secure your spot. Use the link in the info box below to sign up and use the code CLASS56 to get a €10 discount on the deposit. And now let's go back to the conversation with NALF. You moved to Germany 4 years ago, right? And so what were a few of those things that you kind of felt like you had to relearn when you first got there? So you went there as an adult. So like in the States, you basically had life figured out to a certain extent, I would assume. And what were a few of those things that made you feel like a kid again or made you feel kind of dumb in Germany?
A lot of things, but I would say the number one thing that I just felt like kind of like a helpless young person was with driving. First of all, because I didn't drive manual car, and so I just kind of felt helpless there. And I tried to learn, and I just couldn't. And here I am, I'm like 24, and I feel like I'm a grown adult man, and I just felt pathetic trying to drive.
Wait, did you buy a manual car?
I didn't buy our team.
Oh, got it. Okay, so you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, I didn't have a choice. I can drive now, by the way.
Yeah.
Though, so
how did you learn?
My roommate taught me.
Okay.
It just took 4 years. But then also like something like pumping gas. I'd never pumped my own gas.
Oh, that's true because you're from Oregon.
I'm from Oregon, yeah. So this wouldn't apply to all Americans, but at least for me, like you drive it into a gas station and I don't really know what to do because when I'm home in the States, I drive in and hand them my money and they do it. And so I'm here like getting out, trying to figure out how to do everything, and like that. Being in that situation, you kind of feel just a little bit silly and like helpless. Yeah. So that's the main one that comes to mind for me.
Oh, I can relate.
Yeah. Okay. So what is your answer to this then?
Like the gas pumping thing for sure too, even though I was used to pumping my own gas, but it works a little differently here. But mostly, honestly, the things that made me feel a little dumb were like all at the store. So like, well, first of all, obviously how stores are organized. But then, like the whole self-checkout thing that exists a lot in the US, we don't really have that in Germany. And you have to kind of, I mean, it's different at every store, but you have to kind of figure it out at first. Also, we don't usually have customer cards, and a lot of grocery stores here have those. And like in the beginning, you're just like, wait, what are you talking about? Because they usually ask you if you have one, if you want to scan it at the checkout. So those kind of things just make you feel a little dumb in the beginning because you understand the language, but you still don't seem to understand what the person is trying to say to you.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like with the self-checkout stuff, and I was in the store yesterday, that's so true that like the self-checkout isn't such a common thing. We just got it in our Rewe here at Schwäbisch Hall.
Oh, nice.
Nobody uses it. So I'm in the store yesterday. The line is really long in the normal checkout with like a person working there. Nobody in line for the self-checkout. So I'm just like, I'm really accustomed to that, so I just get to go and do it real quickly. But it's just so funny because I'm looking like, why is nobody using this? Just go check out.
Yeah, we're not used to that. But did they set it up because of Corona or just in
No,
general?
They set it up actually last year or 6 months ago or so. So it actually happened before. And people
because I don't think I've ever seen that in an actual grocery store. I've only seen that at IKEA in Germany.
Yeah, I remember. I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Another thing was like little things like when you're in a parking garage and you leave the garage. In Germany, you usually have to find the paying machine first to pay the amount that you owe. And then if you don't pay it and you're at the, what is it called? The exit.
Yeah.
Then you can't get out. And you're like basically the reason why everyone behind you is getting mad at you. And in the US, I think it's the way better system. I don't understand why we don't do that in Germany. It's probably because of the cash culture. But here you just pay at the exit, which is awesome. You just insert your parking ticket and then you insert your card and that's it.
I'm so happy that you said that because, first of all, I 100% agree with you. And well, here's another situation where I felt stupid is my first year in Germany, I went into a parking garage for something. And then I tried to come out, I didn't go to any kiosk to pay with my card beforehand because I figured, just pay at the thing, put in your card and then put in your credit card. And I ended up getting stuck in like a McDonald's parking lot for 40 minutes. I spoke no German at all at this point. So I had, forever, this was about 2 or 3 weeks after I first came to Germany. I had basically a breakdown in a McDonald's parking lot because I didn't know how to get out.
Oh no, was there nobody you could have asked?
I tried. I was alone, and then I couldn't speak any German. So
Aww.
It was a bit traumatic. So this parking garage topic is very sensitive for me. But I agree with you 100%.
No, to all the viewers, like those are experiences that you have when you move abroad. Like suddenly you're like this little kid that's lost without parents, and you don't know what to do.
Yeah. It's so
true. Don't know
true.
how the world works.
It's so funny because you feel like, because how old were you? Were 23?
I was 22. I was older than you.
And I was, over there, like, you feel like you're kind of an adult, you know what you're doing, and then you just, at times, feel like a helpless child.
Yep. Well, one more thing that actually also made me feel really, really dumb is unlocking doors. So, for some reason, I'm not sure if this is a local thing here in the Midwest, but all the doors that like front doors to houses, to apartments, all the doors that I've seen so far have like this lock where you insert your key and then you turn it all the way around and then you have to turn it all the way back, basically. Do you know what I mean? And then you pull it out. And in Germany, the locks usually all work the same, that you like, I don't know why it's so different, but you kind of just turn your key and then the door is already open. And you don't actually have to twist the doorknob because there's usually no doorknob.
Yep.
But that was something like I couldn't figure it out in the beginning.
Do you have a hold of it now? You understand how to open the doors?
I understand how they work, but also every door seems to be a little bit different here. And sometimes you have to turn it in the wrong way. Like sometimes you have to turn your key to the left side, and that just really confuses me because it doesn't seem to make any sense. But yeah.
Actually, that's a great point. I feel like there is just a much more level of uniformity when it comes to little stuff like that. Say even with like the famous German windows, those window handles, like I know now exactly what it's going to be at every house in Germany, every building in Germany. If you go up, you can pull it back. If you go down or to the side, you can open the door or open the window. I think that's very smart because it is true that there's just a bunch of kind of just random, chaotic, just different systems.
Very true. Well, also one thing, did you struggle with tipping in Germany in the beginning?
Yeah, and I still don't. I still
really?
struggle a little bit. Okay.
Why?
Okay, so what? It's supposed to be about like 10%, right?
Yeah.
But are you supposed to tip like bartenders?
That's a good question. I've never learned that. Let me think if I don't think I do that usually. Germany,
yeah, I don't eat like. So in the States, if you go to a bar, like if you get a beer, you better give them $1 at least. Like if
that's
they
what
just
I always
open
do in the
beer.
States, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
What? The tipping culture in general? Or just tipping bartenders?
Tipping culture in general.
Totally fine for me. I mean, like, some people say that we don't tip in Germany, which I don't understand because, like, I've lived in Munich my whole life and I know people from other places in Germany and I've lived in Hamburg for a little bit. And everywhere you're supposed to tip 10%. I mean, you technically have the freedom not to, but you're really an asshole if you don't tip anything. In the US, it's obviously a much bigger deal because the people working in restaurants don't make as much money as people do in Germany.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think it's fine. And I like the system better, how it works here.
I just feel like it's a little bit of like sort of like a guilt system. I mean, here, you're like in the States at a restaurant, like because I don't know what they pay waiters and waitresses, like $2 an hour or something.
Yeah.
So it's really dependent on the customers to basically pay their salary. But yeah, I'm still figuring it out. Like
Well, the one thing that I feel like makes it like guilt-wise makes it a little different is that in the States, you don't actually tell the waiter to their face how much you want to tip them, whereas in Germany you usually do, which I feel like that's a little awkward sometimes.
That's a great point, because you just write it in at the end in the States and then sign away. Here, they're standing right there, and you have to tell them exactly how much you're giving them.
What's one thing that you still find strange to this day that you just can't get used to in Germany?
100%. The one thing or behavior in Germany that I still struggle with after 4.5 years of being here is the accepted distance of personal space between people. The greatest example, most clear example, is when standing in line at a grocery store, where people will really just come right up to you. I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, but I'm going to say inches away from you, or they will hit you with their shopping cart. And I will say now, during the Corona time, where there's a mandatory 1.5 meter distance, this is a much more acceptable distance to stand between in grocery store lines. But that's the one. I've made a few videos about it in the past, because I've had some very uncomfortable situations where somebody's right up on me, and I feel like physically threatened. And so I know logically that no one's like, they're not trying to like pickpocket me or anything like that, but it's just an encroachment on my personal space that's just throws me off. Still can't get used to it. What about you?
Regarding that topic, I never thought about that until I heard it from people, because even though I came to the US, and obviously it's like a little bit different here, every time I go back to Germany, I don't really notice that. Like, it doesn't bother me because I think I'm just so used to it. I just grew up with it.
So you don't think that you go to the States and then get accustomed to that other distance and then come back and you don't get thrown off?
No, like I notice it because people have told me about it. Like, I'm aware of it now, but it still doesn't bother me. Like, it feels pretty normal to me. Just because I'm German, I'm used to it. I guess I do it too.
I would be very interested to see if you do it. I would be interested to see how far you stand away from somebody in line at the grocery store.
No, I think I do it because a lot of Germans have this mindset that, especially like when you're in line or at the store, and stores are usually not as big, you're like wasting space if you're standing too far apart. And maybe someone wants to... Huh?
German efficiency. Maximize the space.
I don't know. I feel like it has to do with that a little bit. Yeah, don't waste any space. Don't waste any space in the line. Move as quickly as possible.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm sure I do it. I should pay attention to it next time.
I bet you do it. If you did, I would give you a weird look in line and kind of, hint at you, hey, back up a little bit, please.
Well, I apologize to all Americans living in Germany that we do that.
Okay. What is that thing for you in the U.S. that you just have not been able to get used to?
Okay, there is a few things that I'm just going to mention, but there's one big thing. So a few things I just can't get used to is obviously the AC is always way too cold in most places, public places, private homes. I just don't understand it to this day. And apparently I haven't really adjusted to it because I still get cold. And I just don't understand why you need it to be that cold. Front doors, and not only related to the whole lock thing that we talked about, but also they're just normal doors, and I feel like if you forget to lock them, I get really scared that someone's going to break into your house, because they have a normal doorknob, not like in Germany where you can only open the front door with your key, but in the US, if you don't lock them, you can just open them like a normal door. I haven't really gotten used to that one. And then the biggest one is that people use paper or plastic plates at home. And I can't get used to that. And I don't think I ever will. I don't understand it.
Oh.
Like,
yeah, okay.
Why? Because I do understand if you have a party with 20 people or like an event at a school or something. I understand it then, and people in Germany use plastic or paper plates then too. But at home, especially when it's just like 4 people or 6 people, and you definitely have enough normal plates and you have a dishwasher, and it's really not that big of a deal to just use normal plates, people still use paper plates and plastic plates. And I've even had, I stayed here for 2 holiday seasons, so 2 Thanksgivings and 2 Christmases I've spent in the US. And one Christmas, I ate my Christmas meal off a plastic plate. And that was really not a Christmassy feeling for me.
You know why? This is because you're in Ohio.
I guess. Is it different in Oregon? You guys don't use plastic and paper plates?
We are a little bit more environmentally conscious in Oregon, I would like to think. But no, I would agree. It's definitely, that's something that's definitely more common in the States, especially when it comes to like holiday time. I think that we actually even do that with at my house when we have like a bunch of people over for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yeah, I think we do. Sorry, Ma. I am sorry for calling you out, but I think we do that.
I mean, like, I'm not trying to judge it. It's just something that I don't seem to understand, because for Germans and most Europeans, we feel like, especially for holidays, you should use the best plates that you have, like the nicest stuff, and it's not a great feeling to eat off such a plate either. And you have like this amazing food usually, so it just doesn't seem to fit.
You know what it is? It all comes down to the Americans' love for convenience, and it's just convenient to clean up. You just throw it all away.
But I just don't understand, because you still have to collect it and throw it in the trash, which is a little bit of work still. And on the other hand, if you had normal plates, you had to collect it and put it in the dishwasher. So what's the big difference? Like putting it in the dishwasher only takes like maybe 2 more minutes? It's not, you don't have to clean it by hand usually, because most Americans do have a dishwasher.
You're right. You know what? Yep. I have no rebuttal for that. I think you're right.
I just don't, like, I've asked so many people and I just don't understand. Like, one time I had a barbecue at my friend's place and we were only 5 people and we ate off plastic plates. And I was like, we're only 5 people. Like, why? I'd prefer to eat on a normal plate, but.
Yeah, and it extra sucks, yeah, especially because it doesn't feel good to eat food off of them. I just think the only defense I can give is it's just convenient to clean up, but
yeah.
It's not good.
I know, that's the only answer I've ever gotten, but I think this is honestly one thing that I will never get used to.
Yeah. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. Oh, this might go hand in hand with something that I still can't get fully used to, is Germans and staring. German people are very blatant with staring at people. And it has been pretty uncomfortable. I've tried to get used to it over the course of a couple of years, but still not that used to it. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, so if you want to find out what my answer to this was, and if you also want to hear us talk about whether Germans really don't understand sarcasm, how our personalities have changed since moving abroad, and what we miss about the other country, then go to NALF's channel now and watch part 2 there. And also, of course, subscribe to his channel because he has some really entertaining videos. Link is in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, let us know what you thought about the topics that we discussed and what your experiences are. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel for free if you're not a subscriber yet, and I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!